Now this is probably the most important one that no one is talking about. Hey guys, it's Sajad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to start learning how to code. Now, if you don't already know, I'm currently a computer science major at Georgia Tech. And so I had and continue to have a formal education when it comes to learning how to code. But for those of you who don't, or for those of you who majored in other things and just want to pick up coding as like a side skill, which is a really good thing to do, this is the video for you. I'm going to be going over the top 5 tips that I believe that you guys should follow if you're considering learning how to code on your own. Really quick, if you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I post 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3:45 p.m. EST, and I really don't want y'all to miss out. And so, without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so for the first tip I have is pick one programming language. Just one. You really gotta settle down and pick one programming language, and I really recommend Java or Python. Java and Python are about the top 2 widely used programming languages that literally so many people know, so that means there's so many resources out there. And if you're trying to eventually get a job in software engineering, whether that's like an internship or full-time, most interviews are done in Java or Python, so I strongly recommend that you guys learn either language. But if you're trying to just use it for a specific project. For example, if you're trying to get into web development, you may want to learn JavaScript. If you're trying to get into statistical modeling, the R programming language may be beneficial. But anyways, niching down to one programming language is the first step that you have in order to focusing down your efforts. Now, some people like to artificially or like lightly learn 15 or so languages, then slap them all onto their resume and say,
"Hey, I know 15 languages, how many do you know?"
But to be honest, that really doesn't help you or make you a better programmer overall. It's honestly better to know a few languages really well rather than lightly knowing 15 or so. You should have an in-depth knowledge of the languages you have. Now for the second tip. So after you determine what programming language you're going to be learning, find a structured course to go along with it. And you can honestly find this through many means, through Udemy, through Coursera, through different YouTube series prep. Basically, what this will do for you is it'll give you a structure for you to follow, for you to learn from, but it won't actually teach you.
Wait, what?
Basically, coding is not something that can be necessarily taught to you. You can't just attend lectures, get information, and sort of absorb everything and expect to be a coding genius or something. You actually have to go through hours of actually coding, typing, failing, debugging, failing harder. But eventually, as you keep failing and failing, you'll eventually get to a time where you just accept that you're just gonna keep failing. And that's when you know that you've succeeded.
Motivation 101 right there.
But anyways, back to the tip I was mentioning, courses. Courses are really nice because they provide answers to questions you may have. Like for example, say you're working on a practice problem and you need a quick tutorial on hash maps. Then you go to your course and you get a tutorial on hash map. And through that, you'll be able to use your course as a supplement. Also, some courses like on Udemy, apart from the lectures that they have, they also provide practice problems as well as projects to kind of go along with the course, which is pretty nice. Now for my third tip, when you're actually about to head into doing a problem, whiteboard it and draw it out. Like for example, say you're given a problem with an array and you have to mess with it, you have to move around the elements after given a certain input, and you have to design an algorithm to do all this. And sort of instead of just heading straight into the problem, just trying to code, and then failing at it, not knowing exactly how to go and approach it, take a step back. Draw out the inner array structure and draw arrows for how things are going to be moving around. Really show the visuals of what your algorithm is supposed to do, what the input looks like, what the intermediary step looks like, and ultimately what the output should look like. Now, coding overall isn't just typing things, it's a whole way of thinking. You have to make yourself into a problem solver. And the easiest way to solve problems is to understand how it looks visually. Actually writing the code for it, that's not the hard part. Finding syntax to do what you intend to do isn't the hard part. The hard part is understanding what you're supposed to do, which you can easily understand that by drawing it out. Many people make the mistake that they look at a problem, they get intimidated by it because they don't know exactly how to push it into code first. But if you just break it down for a second, take a step back and draw it out, it'll be 10 times easier. And that's what you guys should be aware of heading in. Now for the fourth tip, and that's working on projects. Now projects are really nice because not only do they give you a thorough understanding of code, coding as a whole, but also if you're trying to seek a job or an internship, they make great for your resume as well as interviews. And I mentioned this in some of my previous videos that I'll link in the description below. But anyways, I guess the next logical question is, what projects should I do? Or how do I find projects to do? So when starting to learn how to code, you need to start out simple. Coding games like blackjack or other card games are an excellent start. Card games as a whole is really nice because they're super relatable, you've played them your whole life, and they're really easy to understand and map to when you're actually trying to implement in your code. And this kind of goes along with my previous example of whiteboarding it out and drawing it out. With regards to card games, you can literally play out the cards as you're trying to map your understanding to your project. Also, the advantage of doing card games is that so many people have done them before. There's so many open source available things, like on GitHub, for example, of past projects of people who have done card games. So in case you get stuck anywhere or you need inspirations about how to go about a certain thing, these open source repositories will help you out. And there's so many of them with card games. So starting out simple really helps you out in this case. Like for example, I think one of the first projects I did was like this card matching thing where basically all the cards are face down. You have to flip over 2 cards, and if they match, that player's score increases. A pretty simple game, basically having a structure for all these cards and having like a Boolean flag to checking if 2 cards match. That was about it. It's kind of simple in nature, easy to understand by everyone, and it wasn't the hardest thing to code. And that was when I was starting out. And as for the 5th tip, now this is probably the most important one that no one is talking about. Like I guarantee you, no one is talking about this tip when it comes to coding. And that is like and subscribe to this channel. And usually when I'm saying things like this, I'm joking and things usually go black and white and something weird usually happens
With my voice, but for real, like and subscribe and you'll automatically become a genius at coding.
Like, it's true. Just do it. Well, that's about all I have for this video. I really hope that it was beneficial for anyone heading into CS or just trying to learn how to code. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and comment down below for any suggestions you have for future videos. Also, if you want to see more content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video.